Very good. Welcome to the May meeting of the Orange Board of Selectmen. And we will start with, why don't we have the principal of Racebrook School to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Kathy Sheehy, our wonderful principal, is departing us next month. You lead. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, just so all of you know, in case of an emergency, I think probably everybody in the room used the door to the side over here is the fire exit that leads out to the back parking lot. If for some reason that wasn't passable, you could go straight down the back hall, and that will lead you out to the firehouse on Orange Center Road, or right behind the wall where the clock is hanging is the front stairway, which will lead you out to Orange Center Road just in case of an emergency or a fire alarm goes off. Thank you. I'd like my selectmen to introduce. We'll start on the short side here today with Selectman Nastri.
Anthony Nastri.
Good evening, Joe Blake.
Hi, Ann Petty.
Ralph Oakenquist. It's not typical that I'm the one that's not on the short side. Mitch Goldblatt.
Knock on it. Selectman Cuzzacrio, I believe, is unable to attend today. He may come in late, and Attorney Marino had a personal issue. He's unable to attend tonight also. But thank you. First business is public participation, and I know there is some interest in public participation tonight. And who would like to be first? Dr. Messina would like to be first. Public participation is for any item that not a listed item on the agenda. You are allowed 2 minutes to speak on any topic that is not listed on the agenda, and Selectman Blake is the keeper of the watch and the bell.
Thank you, Mr. Select. Good evening, Mr. Selectman and members of the board. My name is Dr. Lawrence Messina. I live at 214 Surrey Drive. I'm doing a Harry Houdini tonight. I'm doing a wolf presentation over at Marielle Tracy, and I'm here this evening. So I'm going to speak rather quickly so I can get back to the Orange Land Trust meeting.
To the wolves.
To the wolves.
I know how you feel.
Yeah, being eaten by the wolves. Basically, the reason why I'm here along with my other neighbors is that we've been having a flooding problem. I moved to Surrey Drive in 1983. It's a beautiful street. It's very quiet. I have lovely neighbors. You couldn't ask for a better part of heaven. Beautiful brook coming through the back of the yard, Racebrook. It's very nice. That's the heavenly side. Now the hellish side. Whenever we get lots of rain, we get tremendous flooding. Back in 1994, we had some individuals. We had Mr. Lieberman was kind enough to look at our problem, but nothing ever really transpired from that. I understand that in 1982, they were taking rowboats down Surrey Drive. We had another flood, and that was the worst one that I know of. In 96, that was one, but not as bad as 82. Recently in 2007, it got so bad that the water came over its banks, went through Mrs. Aspen's yard, and that really tipped the scales. That evening, we got inundated, and luckily we all brought our cars up towards Mapledale because I was hauling my wife and my daughters on my back with hip boots to get to the vehicles. So the situation at hand is we have a disaster, and we're asking the town for some sort of help. We are taxpayers. When we had that burst back in August, we had 5 trees go down on over Racebrook, and the rule is if the root's in your yard, it's your problem. Now neighbors that are here took out chainsaws, and we worked for days to clear that brook. If that brook was not cleared, you would have had a backup in the rest of the town. Wherever that brook is emanating from would have been backed up. So we did something above and beyond the call of duty. And now we're asking the town to come up and do its part. You have to help us out. There are drain pipes that are probably clogged with dirt that need to be cleaned out. As far as the Weppawag, which tipped the scales at night, there has to be some sort of a earthen dam put across part which abuts the Weppawag Conservation Area. So, as a human being, as a fellow citizen, I'm not asking you, I'm begging you. Let me get on my hands and knees. I don't want to look like a damn fool in front of my neighbors. But if I have to, I will. All right? That's how much this is really hurting us. I'm sure if you had muddy water coming into your home, you would feel the same way. So once again, I thank you for your time. I don't have any pictures, but if you need them, I can dig. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Dr. Messina.
Thank you.
Just, I know there's somebody else, at least some are going to come up. Okay. We did have the FEMA people, the representatives were out here, and we were down there on Surrey Drive and met with several of the residents that did have issues. That was the first step of several as far as that FEMA process. You see in the newspapers that the governor asked for the next step. She did a declaration of it. Now it has to go to Washington. Then it goes back. It is a long process, and that's also the same group that is working with Mr. Murphy, who also lives on. I don't think he's here tonight. Sorry. And the DEP. So this is a long process. We wait for them, but there will be some good will come out of their part. In regards to the Weppawag, we did go up there and look at that also with town's employees. And what happened there is it looks like the river comes down through the conservation area and takes right. And it got so bad and so much water coming from upstream that instead of taking the right, it went straight, and it went through Oliver's property, which was Johnny Cowell's there, and then straight through theirs and right into the houses on Surrey Drive. And they had a lot of damage from that. And then on the what would be the backside of some of the people on Surrey Drive, Racebrook comes down across Orange Center Road, and then it runs through where Michael Ulrich lives and was Bill Bailey's house. Is now owned by Maureen Burns. That part of the river had jumped the boundaries of the brook there and flooded out Mapledale Road. I know the Vescovis are here somewhere. I saw there they are. And they live on Mapledale Road. And there's actually two problems there. One, we need to build some earthen dam along of it there in what is now Mrs. Burns's property. It's eroded it to the point where it's coming out right out into the street. And the second problem is the brook gets so full that the town had installed a catch basin water off the road, but when you get extreme, or not even as extreme, residents there tell me that it actually works as a siphon backwards, and it's taking the water out of the brook, up through the catch basin, and into their front yard where their septic system is in their front yard, and they then had a, I'm not sure which gas is generated septic system, but it is forcing the gas backwards into their home, and they had tremendous damage there. So we definitely have some issues there that once summer comes, you know, when the water levels go down and all after the spring season, we need to do some, I'll call it earth along in a couple stations there, try to contain this. Part of the problem with the Racebrook is part of it was moved years ago when they put in that subdivision, but a brook will revert to its original path, they tell me, when it gets to those kind of stages. And where it used to lead away from the Messinas and Murphys, and I don't know all the people who belong there, but those are a couple I have met. When you get to these flood stages, it reverts back to its old stream bed, which is their backyards. And, you know, it just is unbearable, unmanageable, and unfair. And again, this goes back to development that's going on here and in the communities above us. Just because land is sitting there, but the wetlands regulations, even above us, need to be enforced a little stricter or made a little more difficult for detention or retention up above us, because as it comes down through, it just has nowhere to go. Again, it's like a situation where a very divided explanation on the first part. Who else is seeking public participation? Mrs. Astor.
You only have to read the first page. The next two pages are repetitive, but that's the way it was made.
Okay. Is there enough here for everybody?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There's two there. One there. Actually, there's four there.
I hope I can do this in 2 minutes.
Just trying to come up that we extend it to minutes and to the clarity of the.
Okay, you have three.
Thank you. You've heard the you can't fight City Hall.
Yep.
Sad but true. I had a nice speech prepared until a couple of incidents occurred, which really upset me. I had planned on asking for some simple things for the people of Surrey Drive and Mapledale. In February, my daughter and I went to see Mr. Lieberman requesting an 8-inch sewer pipe be replaced with a larger one. The pipe is 43 years old or more and cannot handle the drainage of the large piece of wetland. Mr. Lieberman made a call while we were there and assured us as soon as the warm weather came it would be replaced. Last week, Mr. Zioli, accompanied by FEMA, was at my house. I mentioned the pipe, and he said it was budgetary. I followed this up with a phone call to Mr. Lieberman, who has now said we have to wait until July 1st budget to come in, and we were. Obviously, once again, Surrey Drive is not important to everyone. The owner of the ditch that drains the wetlands cannot keep it flowing because the pipe is constantly clogging. It's standing water, which offers a good chance of bacteria and disease-bearing larvae when a property. It is the same story. 4 properties are flooded. 175 Surrey with flooding into a mud hole. 181 destroying my whole downstairs. The same with the house next door and flooding of a newly seeded lawn next to that. The same with the overflowing of the Racebrook, 3 or 4 houses at the end of Surrey and as many on Mapledale. In 1993, a group of engineers made a study of the Weppawag. One of the engineers came down and talked to my husband and I and suggested that this earthen dam that you're talking about between the 2 hills beyond the old Cobble property, the plan was economically shelved because the town did not feel there were enough homes involved to bother. I would imagine if this was happening in any one of their homes, it would have been rectified quickly. I spoke to Scott Allen about this, and he said it was a very good approach. My property increased in value by $100,000 with the Zoom taxes. I had my house sold, the river came over, and the deal was canceled. These houses are almost impossible to sell, as in the disclosures you must state that there is water in the house. But it is worth much to the town and the taxes, regardless of the flooding history. Simple solutions offered by reputable people overlooked and ignored, so time after time, the same people pay to clean up a mess caused by town property. Gentlemen, I'm sorry, but you have a group of very angry, frustrated people who feel it is time to get something for their tax dollars beside water and consider it worth the price to prevent the loss of their homes. I hope we won't get the pacifications and platitudes that we have been getting from others. I hope it's an action, at least with a small, like a sewer, and perioding of the sewers. If that can't be included in the town budget, I think the town's in trouble. Thank you.
It is in the next phase, which is a few weeks away, I'm going to call it at this point in time. That is all figured into there already. Mr. Lieberman and I have spoken about the Weppawag and the Racebrook over there by Mrs. Burns's property. We have full intentions of building up a berm along in the conservation area where we have there. However, we are going to do that work, but Mother Nature, sometimes we just can't beat no matter what we do. I don't know what the answer would be, quite honestly, without a study. Maybe more fill in that area and back where the Racebrook reverts to its old path might help. I'm not an engineer. That part of it's going to have to be looked at by the people that are paid to do that kind of work, the professionals. But as far as the Weppawag where it ran over, that is going to be repaired once the water season is past us. You don't go in there now in the spring season and do that. The Racebrook, I've already spoken with Mrs. Burns a couple times. She knows that come summer we are going to be doing some work along the edge of her property. We have to figure out what to do with that catch basin and that causes a siphon on Mapledale Road. And that pipe that you're talking about, I believe, is in the slated list of new pipes, larger pipe. Am I correct? He's not. Mr. Lieberman is nodding yes. Generally, if I tell you it's going to be done, I write it down and it does get done. There's people who tell me it can't be done, but so far I haven't found anything that can't be. So is there anybody else for public participation? Yeah, take your turn, whoever's first. No? Okay.
My name is Marsha Oliver, and my address is 175 Surrey Drive and also 834 Mapledale Road. Some of the things I say may be repetitive because some of the things have been covered. I'm here to address the problems on Surrey Drive that occurred during heavy rains. At the height of the last rainstorm, my husband and I walked the entire neighborhood for hours to assess the water problem. Most of the damage in the subdivision came from the rivers, not the sky. It was my intention that all of the wetlands were just filling from the sky until I walked it that morning. The right side of Surrey Drive got hit by the water from the Weppawag, and the left side of Surrey Drive got hit by the Racebrook. I only studied my side of the street, the right side. The Weppawag was going properly downhill, except at one small point where you have agreed to build the berm, which I'm very thankful for. so I'll skip that part. It overflowed. What happened was it overflowed on that particular curve, and exactly as you said, across the Orange Trust, cascaded down along the Cobb property, which is now my property,
Yeah.
and made 3 waterfalls into my backyard. Actually, 3 giant waterfalls. And then it tried to go into the catch basin that we're all talking about. Next on the trail of the waterfall, the 2 catch basins, the one in front of my house and one in front of my neighbor Aspen's house. The catch basin that drained into the river was not working at the storm's height, even though the river was raging downhill. So our part wasn't siphoning. All the catch basins on Surrey Drive were overflowing and adding water into the street instead of taking it down. My initial reaction was that the catch basins were clogged, which may have added to the problem. Further investigation, we were told the catch basins flow into Racebrook during the height of the storm, that the Racebrook River instead flowed into the catch basins. We need our town support to pass that last pipe of all the catch basins downriver into the Weppawag instead of upriver into the Racebrook. I'm not a professional. I may not be right. It's just what appeared to the naked eye. At the end of the cul-de-sac, the next leg of the journey for the water is donated open space land. The water was trying to escape from a 6-inch opening to go downhill into the river. We tried to open it larger, and it did help. If that area would not have had a natural berm at the end of the cul-de-sac, the water would have had another escape out of Surrey Drive instead of settling into the homes. We need that open space landowner to also be involved in our solution. I'm very surprised to hear that only 3 subdivisions were damaged by such heavy rainstorm, considering our town is known for wetlands. Most of us are very lucky this time. Our subdivision on Surrey Drive, as you said, is the first upriver, so it makes sense to start at the beginning if we're going to rectify the 3 subdivisions that were damaged. There have been 3 natural disasters in my neighborhood since I moved here 5 years ago. Dr. Messina mentioned one, the microburst that knocked a tree on my house, and a storm that caused all the tree damage on Maple Downs in Surrey. In both instances, I found tons of town support. In this last instance, I felt like my neighborhood was abandoned. Maybe the other 2 neighborhoods needed help more. I remember a volunteer task force out with us and helping us at the last disaster. We may need their support in another water event. I would like to be put in touch with them. I would like to propose and request a committee be formed to address the following problems. Study and estimate the cost of allowing the catch basins to do their job in major rainstorms. And my hope that it only involve one pipe rear at the end of the street into the Weppawag and the Racebrook, because the Weppawag was all the water wanted to go. Involve the surrounding open space owners to build a berm on the curve of the Weppawag, which you said that you were going to be doing, and maintain the property to keep the water on its natural course and paths. I would hope there is an emergency fund in the budget that can help with the cost of the catch basin repair and study. The Weppawag water wanted to stay on its natural course because it was forcibly moving downhill. We just need a few adjustments from the town and properly maintenance from the landowner to help the river to stay on course. I think it's kind of everyone needs to work together, the town as well as the open space owners as well as the...
Well, the town is the open space. Well, you won't part.
Well, in between the Cow property and the Camp Cedarcrest, is that the town or the Orange Trust? Or are they the same? I've heard they were different.
The Land Trust is a private corporation.
So you don't own that in between Cedarcrest and my property? I don't believe
Who owns
so.
that piece? I think the Land Trust owns that, which is a separate corporation,
Right.
actually. Dr. Messina is on that board just as a point of interest.
Oh,
He's on board
good.
of
So that
directors.
his burn because it's all where it was going.
That helped.
I would definitely volunteer to be part of any of your task force if anyone were
Well, we
to
would-
appoint one with the cooperation, of course, of the Board of Selectmen and
We
our
would-
engineer.
We're looking at this engineering, and you have to have a professional
Yeah,
firm
I
to do
understand that.
The problem is some of it is lower than the Racebrook, actually, when we went down there and saw it. Only the house down at the very end on the right is very lucky because they're high up in the air over there, but a lot of them are lower than the Racebrook, and when it came out there, it siphoned into the catch basins and was going backwards instead of forwards.
That's what I think. I think at the height
So-
of the storm, if the catch basins were directed into the Weppawag, even if the Racebrook would have came onto the right side of the street, it would have still had somewhere to go because the catch basins would have been working. I mean, I spent all day in rain boots, rain gear, outside the whole storm. At the height of it, I was out, and my husband were out, and I really spent a lot of hours and time. So I may not have an engineering degree, but I have my own report of what I can just honestly tell you that can maybe help us all. Okay?
We will.
Thank you very much.
There's a couple more I know. There we go. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Ben Wyckoff, 186 Surrey Drive. My parents moved onto Surrey Drive in 1963. I grew up there, and the house is now mine. I don't have a lot to add. Fortunately, I'm on the left side of the street. I escaped the severe flooding, but twice in the past 3 years I've had the property commercially appraised for transfer of ownership, and I was surprised that the floodplains show the flooding coming north from where Wepwag joins it, and didn't note the Wepwag overflows its bounds. I do remember in the early 80s when that happened. I wasn't on the street this last time when it happened, but I came the next day and I saw the results. I like what I'm hearing today. I look forward to having so that the street's safe again. Thank you.
Thank you. I know I saw one more hand. There we are. Good evening. How are you?
Good. My name is Barbara Vescovi. I live with my husband Vincent on 786 McDale Road. We've been there 8.5 years. I've been fighting a water problem for 8.5 years. I've heard more stories and have more documents. One doesn't make any more sense than the other. And I need to say, Mr. Zioli, you were the first one in 8.5 years that when we met with you 2 weeks ago, looked us straight in the eye and said you knew what the problem was, and I thank you for that. My issue is we have to do something. I sympathize with the people on Surrey Road. I know what you're going through. I'm kind of like speaking for myself at this point because at times when it rains and you're not, I'm flooded. My floods, the septic flows into my sump pumps. My basement floods with sewage. I've had fire department out there several times testing for methane gas. I have an easement on the left side of my house. 2-foot easement belongs to the town of Orange. I got documents out of City Hall that said the town is supposed to maintain it. They came once in 8.5 years to clean it out and left the brush inside. For 8.5 years, I've been cleaning it. I built my own retaining wall, which this last flood got washed away. I'm at the point now where I have a useless home. This home cannot be sold because, like I said, even when it just rains heavy and Surrey isn't flooded, my front lawn is flooded, my back front lawn is flooded. My basement is full of water that smells of sewage, which is coming from the sump pumps, from the leaching fields. I don't know what's disgusted. I'm just beside myself. We have a home. We can't even walk away from this home. You can't sell a home under disclosure of water problems. I brought this up to Mr. The wetlands officer, and I forgot his name. I should remember it.
Scott Allen.
Scott Allen, because 8 years ago when I spoke to him about his reply to me, when I didn't like the water, I should move. You know what? I worked hard to get in Orange. We struggled all our lives to move here. I love the town. I love the people. Unfortunately, when we bought our house, the water problem was not put on the disclosure. We did have an attorney look who read it wrong. My limitation time is over. I can't do anything to the previous owners. Whatever Surrey Road, the people on Surrey and Mapledale, we are with you 100%, and I'll do whatever I can to help you so you can resolve this problem.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience for public participation? No? Go ahead, Mitch.
I want to address a couple quick things. Ed's here. We had done, I thought, some extensive drainage work right by the Vescovi's house a few years ago that was supposed to relieve that. But we spent a considerable amount of money there, and I know that there's still water problems. Ms. Vescovi has certainly just attested to that. I'm curious as to what was done, because I know it was a big project.
It's, Ed, I can tell you, that's the one I was talking about, Mitch. The catch basins are put in.
Right.
The pipe that goes to the brook in okay weather, little bit of weather, they work. As soon as that brook comes up, because you're picking up so much water upstream, the water in the brook is backflowing out of the drain pipe, bubbling out of the catch basin, and then flooding that. It's just low enough in that area there that it flows, if you were going down Mapledale, it flows to the left, which is Vescovi's house, and there's a drainage swale there that goes from their property. Actually, eventually it will meet back out to the Racebrook out behind their home. But the pipe is a little low, and it's siphoning backwards. is what it is. Yeah, it is. I saw it.
Ed, I'd like to ask you a question. In some of the homes in Trumbull that are downhill towards a lake, for septic or whatever sewer, they have to use an up pump. Is there such a thing as an up pump that
Yes, there
would
is.
help the situation?
No, I don't know if it would help it, because where would you send it?
What, are you talking about water or septic?
Oh, no, they use it for septic.
Is an up
They-
pump for
they-
water?
no.
I mean, Jim is saying that it's siphoning back. So I mean, I'm not an engineer either.
No,
but
let me,
is-
it works. Unfortunately, when we're right above the elevation, the water is not going anyplace. The water goes in, has no place to go, so it backs up. However, that pipe was put in and angled so that the racebrook sucks it out. But when the water gets up so high, it's not going to go
It's
anyplace.
underwater.
It's underwater. And they're right. It's just, I have proposed to extend the ditch alongside the Vescovis to the brook. However, I ran into a wetlands problem that I've discussed with Mr. Dioli.
the wetlands could alleviate the situation, that an exemption could be applied for the state of Connecticut?
We'll talk about it.
I'd like to know the answer when you're through talking about it.
I'll-
No, I just when you're mentioning wetlands, I dealt with the state of Connecticut, the Army Corps of Engineers, and FEMA. My property is not wetlands, it's not a floodplain. The property next to mine was where the house was built, it should have been built many years ago.
Yeah, the Wetlands Agency says that we would have to go for wetlands to get that ditch to the brook, so we're going to have to discuss that. I will discuss it with Mr. Zioli.
I think some things are going to
Yeah.
be corrected a little differently that we had talked about.
This is
Yeah.
an issue that they have been trying to get by me for 8 years. They want to change my property to be a floodplain or wetlands, when the state says
It's not wetlands, or not.
This is an issue that I've gone over many times with many of the officers in the town of Orange. Everybody's saying, well, we'll make it wetlands, we'll make it a floodplain. According to all the people I talked in the state of Connecticut, I'm not a wetlands, I'm not wetlands, and I'm not a floodplain. You can't go and change my property to fit the town of Orange because my house is taking in all the water on Mapledale Road. This is what I don't understand, why you keep telling me this.
We're going to work on it.
One other item. When I received a communique from the engineers who work for FEMA, and I asked them to look at Surrey Drive, Mapledale Drive area again to make sure their elevations are correct for the floodplain, because it changes the way people's houses and the insurance that you get. I don't results yet. It took a while. The FEMA floodplain maps stands people for their delineation, but
They're going to get back to us, but the FEMA side of it's a long term.
yes, it is. Yeah.
And they don't move as fast as
No.
I hope that we will move to resolve some of it. Yes, you have to come up here. Just the Ogat can't record it unless you're on.
It's a very
Sound.
simple question.
Yep.
Is there such a thing, I just want to know this answer, I've been dying to know it, such a thing as a check valve or a backflow preventer? Because I'm not sure if you can do them
I don't know
on
if they
catch
have it on
basins
that.
because
I don't think so.
for rivers. So we're not really sure that, but it might be something we can look into for her situation.
The
On a
engineers
catch
will-
basin?
No,
You've never heard of one?
Before we put the catch basin in, almost any reasonable rainstorm would cause a flooding of their property. Now, unfortunately, it takes something a little about a 10-year storm doing it, and
That's what
if the river rises above the catch basin elevation, the water has no place to go. But
Okay.
that's
The whole answer, not that I hope it's the final answer, but I think this board heard legitimate complaints, and
There's
Ed
a
has
lot of-
explained, Jimmy
yeah.
has. I think our next action by this board is to get an engineering firm that is supposed to be an expert in this particular problem.
years ago we
Already
had
set.
that proposal. We put it before EEP, and
Ed,
it was
we're going to take
it was
care
a
of
big expense.
Well, we're going to take care of it, Ed.
Okay.
Very good.
The group that they had in 1993.
Olsmacher, McLendon. The town had, or
The town, I believe,
okay. I never heard of this one, but we'll keep it on file.
that was the engineer who gave that to us.
All right. Yes.
When everybody's saying that they want to do something, I just don't understand why it has July 1st for two reasons. One is
No,
because,
two different things.
Huh?
Two different things.
well, no, doing berm work and everything else.
No, the berm work, I didn't say July 1st.
Okay.
That's his piping work is in that budget for piping. The berm work, you wait for the spring season to pass so that the water level goes down.
I understand that, but I was concerned about the budgeting situation because Ed's budget has still $45,000 from snowplow. Fortunately, we had a light year, and because I would hope some of that could be used immediately to work on the situation.
Some of it's already being used to fix some piping and
Okay.
other projects.
Okay.
So, is there anybody else in the audience for public participation? No? All right. Anybody here? I have a few. Mitch found one that, since Vincent couldn't be here tonight, is interesting. The Supreme Court action upheld a local ordinance forcing private trash haulers to use municipal garbage facilities, even if it costs more than shipping garbage elsewhere. I found that interesting. I don't quite know all that's involved with it, but we'll give that to the town council to look at. Announcements from me. There was a survey done, again, of the power lines situation, and the weatherized poles, which are rust, were a 2-to-1 favorite with the people, and I agree with them. I mean, once you already have one like that, what are you going to do? You're going to have two different ones next to each other. However, if you go down just beyond us into Milford, you'll see that they're putting up galvanized poles, and they don't show up really. I mean, I guess at times they may, but
the one near the end of Woodruff Road, or right on Woodruff
Yes.
Road, is galvanized.
Yeah.
And as you look down the line, they're all rust. Yes.
yeah.
So you wonder what it is between
Yeah.
Milford and Orange.
Well, it was their request, back when, I guess. Officer Heather Foote was promoted to sergeant. You all saw that. We had another tribute tree ceremony a week or so ago up at High Plains Community. 4 new trees were planted in memory of people from either families here in town, down by where the kindergarten wing is. It's really quite an honor there. I have actually 3 new people today. My announcements were printed to tell you about. We hired Corinne Lewis, who lives here in town, will be the new business office manager over at the ONA. Lupo had been there for quite a while, and she moved on. She's the administrative assistant to the chiefs of police, and we interviewed quite a few people for the position, and Corinne Lewis came to us for the OVNA. And Mr. Lieberman and Mr. Foyer and myself, they interviewed. We had 9 applicants for the position of transfer station manager. We actually had 7, then 1 withdrew. 2 did not have proper licensing. We ended up interviewing 6, and you'll see a recommendation letter in there to me that Mr. Lieberman had sent. He requested David Eagle be hired for the transfer station, so we have done that this week. And just yesterday, we interviewed for a replacement for Carol Wade as director of Orange Visiting Nurse Association. And I'm pleased to say this afternoon we made our choice after we had gotten done, and this afternoon the choice responded to us, a woman named Joanne Davis, who comes to us with many years of experience in the field of visiting nurse associations, and we look forward to working with her, and all tremendous people that are coming to work for the town of. Coming up, we have on May 12th, Saturday, there's the blood drive at High Plains Community Center for Katie Winkle, in honor of the Winkles. They want to do this to give back, I should say. Of course, don't forget the town meeting is on May 14th at 7:30 at High Plains Community Center. The budget referendum will be held on May 22nd at Plains Community Center from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Lions Club, they're sponsoring the Taste of Amity on May 17th. That's in the gymnasium at Holy Infant. It's from 5:30 to 7:30. It's $25 per ticket, and the tickets are available at the First Selectman's office. The Memorial Day Parade will be held on Sunday, May 27th. I know we all attend that and do our part at High Plains first and then come up to Orange Road. I'll be in office hours with Emma Clark and Paul Davis on June 11th from 6 to 7:30 that evening. Again, that's with Themis and Paul on the 11th. And then on the 13th, which again is the same day as our Selectmen's meeting, Mr. Grimmer has planned the Orange Business Expo, and that is a 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. event at the Orange Cinemas right up there by 95. A lot of our local businesses and businesses looking for business within our area participate up there, and I believe it collided last year with the Selectmen's meeting. I don't remember if it did before that, but did last year. Yeah. So those are announcements for this month. Short list.
Jim, real quick, speaking
sir.
of Flag Day, is there a Flag Day ceremony set for the 14th?
You know what, Mitch? I got to tell you, did anybody contact us? Ralph? Your wife's on the committee.
They expect to have it on.
Microphone.
They're expecting to have a ceremony. I believe it's, I don't know whether it's on the, at High Plains or on the Green. And I know they're requesting through the schools to go in one of the schools if it's inclement weather. But there is something planned for June 14th. I don't.
Okay. I haven't been contacted yet, Mitch, and once we put it out over the email waves and all, but at this point we haven't heard. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the minutes. There was corrected minutes at your place tonight. That Selectman Goldblatt had emailed in his corrections of some names and all. I didn't know if anybody else had any other.
I'll make a motion that the minutes approved as corrected.
Thank you. Do we have a
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous. Okay. Under new business, we're all new business. I want to request a motion to add one item, even though attorney isn't here tonight. We received the open space watershed grant paperwork, thank you, on Monday. They kept telling us every other week, not sure, we're not sure, we're not sure. Well, lo and behold, on Monday it was announced and they put it out over the email. So I would like to add to the agenda, we need to approve the town council hiring a appraiser. Do we need a new and current appraisal in this yellow book type they call it? It's a little more involved evidently than in past years when we've applied for these grants, and Vincent understands that, and so all I need is we'll make it item number 11 under new business.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. All right. Any more discussion at this time? Hearing none. Thank you. Okay. Now we'll move to item under new business was submitted by Klotz to consider and act on a 50% property tax reduction for highly fuel-efficient vehicles registered to Orange residents. Mr. Klotz, you'd like to come up and address us?
Okay, thank you. Alan Klotz, 21 Tall Timber Road, Orange, Connecticut. I presume the selectmen have the selectmen had a chance to read the letter? Okay. I learned from the town assessor's office that we have approximately 5,000 residences in Orange, 10,000 adults, 13,500 residents, and about 15,000 cars, trucks, SUVs, and motorcycles. On a national level, nations have a chance to do something about global warming and air pollution by participating in the Kyoto Treaty. On a more local level, cities in the United States have a chance to participate in a similar reduction in the amount of emissions from vehicles and power plants, and do something about global warming by participating in what's called the Cool Cities Initiative. And I think there are about 30 or 40 cities in the country, perhaps a little more at this point, that have signed on to that. Here in Connecticut, we have maybe a dozen cities, but we have hundreds of towns, and there's, in my opinion, not a whole lot that is available for towns to do, so I thought perhaps we could start the ball rolling by holding out a carrot to those individuals in our town who purchase a highly fuel-efficient vehicle, one that gets at least 40 miles to the gallon in the city. Such vehicles emit very little carbon dioxide, very little heat to add to global warming, and consequently overall very little air pollution. And I would like the town to consider holding out a carrot to the few people who would such a vehicle, and ultimately I have here saying, do go along with this consideration that by 2020 the cost of gasoline will be enormous. There'll be other incentives that will be say provided to all of us citizens to choose such a fuel-efficient vehicle, and therefore that we can allow the carrot to go away or the benefit to go away. 50% reduction came to mind because I completely eliminate the property tax, but let's give people a serious measure of benefit from choosing a fuel-efficient vehicle. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Aren't there incentives now? I remember reading about it. Could you, do you aware of them?
Yes, I am, Mr. Mastry. There's a tax incentive which, as I understand it, for Toyota cars has probably expired simply because there was a number of vehicles purchased for which the incentive was given on a federal level. And Toyota's had tremendous success with their Prius, so I believe that the benefit has expired. For the Honda Civic Hybrid, there are quite a few of them being purchased, and the benefit is still available. And I think Ford has 1 or 2 vehicles that qualify also. So what I'm saying is at a local level, we in town can do something about improving our air quality, and by giving people an incentive to buy a highly fuel-efficient vehicle to minimize our dependence on foreign oil and minimize global warming.
Another question.
Sure.
How does that work with leased vehicles? Because I noticed you said that if they purchase it, if a person leases such a vehicle, they're still responsible for the property tax under the lease agreements.
That's a very good question. Does the person who leases a vehicle pay tax, you're saying, to the town of Orange if they lease it?
The lease company does. So then you'd be giving the lease company a break, I guess.
This is something I would leave to the wisdom of the Board of Selectmen to decide what to do.
Thank you, Alan. I spoke with Vincent about this, and he asked that it stay on, even though obviously he wasn't able to. He wanted us to hear it, and he's going to do a little research into it to see if that's possible to do it. But I think it's a great step forward. I mean, you guys hear me all the time about different things for the environment, and I think it's terrific, and he told me we're going to look into it. So
thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much.
I want to make one more comment, if I may,
sure,
please. I was concerned about motorcycles, that we may encourage people to buy motorcycles and go over to having more motorcycles on the road, and they are inherently not nearly so safe as a four-wheeled vehicle like a car or an SUV. However, when I called 2 motorcycle dealers, they explained to me that the EPA does not provide city mileage estimates for motorcycles. It is the manufacturers that provide this kind of mileage, and therefore I carefully worded my recommendation to say that it would be the EPA estimate, and I say that's a very strong point. We should not deviate from that. And I was also told by one of the motorcycle dealers that for the same model motorcycle, same year, same make, you can have 2 different riders, and one can get 20 miles to the gallon and one can get 40 miles to the gallon over the same course. It's highly dependent on the individual riding the motorcycle.
I think we probably could look into something in regards to like passenger vehicle or something with it too. Mitch.
First of all, I want to commend Alan for bringing this forward. I think it's a great idea. Now the question is whether we can implement it or not. A couple things I don't know if you want a motion, Jim, to recommend the town council into creating an ordinance. Just do it. Okay. You already answered my question on cycles. So that was one I had. Alan, was your intent just for any vehicle, passenger vehicle over 40 miles per gallon, or was it really specifically looking at hybrid vehicles? And I didn't know whether, because other towns have looked into incentives for hybrids, and I didn't know if that was really what we were after, or were just any vehicle over 40 miles a gallon? Number one was my question. Number two, for Jim, if in the meantime, obviously we're not going to act on this tonight, in the meantime, if you or Vincent look into what other towns in the state have done, if anybody has. And then the third thing is, I know Vincent will look into this.
We might lead the way.
Yeah, we might lead. That'd be great. And the third thing is, we have certain taxing abilities and things we can't do based on state statute. I'm sure Vincent will look into to see whether we even have the ability to reduce a motor vehicle tax for any reason. And if so, obviously, I think the board seems to be inclined to do something, so we can take a further look at it. Those are my comments, and thank you very much, Alan, for bringing this forward.
Okay.
Welcome. Let me address your question, which was to me. My intention is for any vehicle. Right now, as I understand it, it is just the hybrids that would qualify, but given the pace of technology, given the incentives that we American citizens have, I expect that sometime in the next few years we will have ordinary gasoline-powered vehicles meeting this criterion. Thank you.
Jim, before you leave it, there are other applications. There's electric, there's hydrogen cell, and all, which...
We'll address that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you know the way Vincent looks into things. He's very thorough. Okay. Item number 2 under new business is to consider building a fitness track at Racebrook School, which is Kathleen Sheehy, the principal of Racebrook, and Ann Denny is her holder of the works here. Good evening, ladies.
This is my partner. Good evening, gentlemen. Nice to see you, Ann Petty.
Pull it for the bottom. There we go.
My name is Kathleen Sheehy. I'm principal of Racebrook School. This is Ann Denny. She is our co-president of the PD, soon to be president next year. We come this evening as part of our process because we are embarking on an improvement to the grounds of Racebrook School. Down piece of property, so that brings us to your table this evening. Over the past year, we have been implementing our wellness policy here in Orange in all the elementary schools that state require, and we are all very involved in finding new and better ways to help children and staff stay healthy. Some of those initiatives are in the area of nutrition, but the course is in the area of exercise. Our proposal is to add a walking track to the backyard of the school. This track will go around the perimeter of the present playground. It will not involve cutting down any trees, and it does not involve any wetland encroachment. We've already been before the Wetlands Commission, and they have okayed this project. We are planning this track to be about 800 feet long and 8 feet wide. It would be paved. There have been many questions about why we wanted it paved. We feel that this would give us the best opportunity to have a year-round use of the area. The children will be able to use the track during the school day for running, jogging, any activities. We're also hoping that it could be plowed during when there's a light snow. That way, when we are encumbered by the snowfall on the fields and the play area is significantly decreased, we'll have an additional track area for the children to run. This would also be an improvement for our community. Many days at Racebrook School in the evenings when school is out, or on the weekends when I come into work, there are families playing on the playscape and enjoying the beautiful fields. This would be an opportunity for bicycling and rollerblading for the community. One of our teachers is planning a jogging club for her students. Our staff is also very excited about the idea of having a walking track for their use. At this time, I'm hoping that the Board of Selectmen will consider this proposal, and we appreciate your consideration.
You have all your approvals from Wetlands and your PA and your everybody who's going to be involved in all phases of it.
Important point that it's funded by the PTA. I guess that's important.
And a lot of volunteer help, probably of
tremendous
labor
contributions.
And machinery and
tremendous contributions from generous families.
That's good. Anastasia, got anything they can give towards this? Maybe some asphalt hauling or something? I think that man back there would probably they can arrange for trucking too.
Oh, what's the construction time when it started? Unfortunately, we know you are leaving us.
Yes, we're hoping to complete it as soon as possible. Would you know, is it
we were going to wait until summertime when the children weren't there, and it would be ready for, back to school next year.
I think that, is that all right? I think.
To say I agree with hardly, especially live in the area.
And
I know Jim is going to invite you back to cut the ribbon for the track.
Absolutely. I think it would be terrific. I know it's in your neighborhood, and on days that you get locked out of your house, you can go walk the track instead of like today, Grandpa. Poppy got locked out today. Do we have a motion to approve this?
I also want to commend the Racebrook PTA. Mrs. Sheehy, I publicly say we're going to miss you and wish you the best of luck also in your future endeavors. But thank you very much. I think it's be a great addition, not just to Racebrook, but to the entire community. So I'll second that motion wholeheartedly.
No, I thought you already did. I was going to ask for discussion, but I'm afraid to now. Yes, Ms.
Will there be a slight crown on it? The water will slide on both sides?
It's going to be pitched away from those baseball fields.
Okay. Yes, Ralph.
I just have a little bit of a concern with the paving of it. Number one is anybody that walks or jogs, it's much better to do that on a softer surface than a hard surface for your ankles and knees. I don't know if that was considered, that was taken into consideration.
It was. One of the other considerations is that we are a school, and with hundreds picking up the grit from tracks, we thought about our custodians and floors and said we would prefer to have the paved area.
The other concern I had with that is, in the winter, if it does get plowed and it's cold and there's ice, we're looking at a liability problem.
There'll be signs, use at your own use, no risk.
That doesn't always work. But otherwise, I think it's a great idea. I'm all in favor of that. I think just by looking at what's happening out at High Plains, the number of people that use the track out there, another track in town I think is great. So
thank you.
And again, good luck to you.
Kathy, I take great interest in your letter, the grit being tracked into school for obvious reasons.
Can you relate to that?
You need to, after you get this one, spirit one at Peck Place.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have our motions and discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, unanimous. Congratulations. Sad to see you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Next item. Now we're into the. We will pull up a chair for him. Item number 1. To consider and act on bids for hauling bulky waste from the transfer station and disposal of such waste. Ed, I have one comment on these, and I'll remember to tell Stacia tomorrow, unless she's at home. When you submit the bid to us, I'm the reason you get the whole bid, which is a lot of paper. If you want to use one, just submit what the successor, their application, so that, like, if anybody has any questions about these. Just a thought.
No problem.
Okay, so that's your first item, and it says attached are the results of an advertisement for bids for hauling of bulky waste from transfer station and disposal of such waste. Anastasia and Sons of New Haven was low bidder and is requested that they be awarded your contract for this bid.
The present contract being paid $86.41, and they are now city carding. Their bid was out of this world. $185 a haul. That's 3-4 times a week. That'd be the whole transfer station budget. So Anastasia came in with a very good bid based on what we pay now. The first 2 years is below what we
Use Asia for anything already?
Yes, they are hauling the MSW to the
pusher trailers.
Yes, and
are they doing a satisfactory job?
Very satisfactory. It's back
no problems?
No problems.
Good.
No problems at all. In fact, their driver, we don't even have to call them. Their driver shows up on.
Okay.
Knows when to call.
And their price is a flat price per ton.
That's correct.
No haul price.
No haul price.
Okay. That's fine.
I'll make a motion. We approve.
Very good.
Second.
All right. You want to state the prices in there,
or
as
at $84 a ton in 0708, $85.75 a ton in 0809, and $87.50 a ton in 0910.
Very good. We had a second. Do we have a second on that, Mitchell? Okay. I need more discussion on that. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? One done. To consider and act on bids for wood and brush grinding, hauling, and disposal. Mr. Lieberman.
Yes, it was time to go out to bid again, and we got a lot of bids, as you can see, and low bidder, Advanced Tree Service. His machine is a lot slower than the other. Cost us twice as much to, or more, somewhere in that area to get rid of the stuff. The low bidder is, the next person is A&M Wood Recycling and Mulch Sales on Monroe. They manufacture mulch for sale. Their grinding price is less than what we're paying now. And look at their hauling price. If they get those, they will grind 99, 44, 100% of the stuff. And then for $25 a ton, bring in their own personnel and equipment and haul it away, haul the existing mulch away. We have a problem now. There's no place to put mulch. And it's not good mulch because it only gets ground once. And so that's why I'm recommending A&M Wood Recycling.
Okay.
I know that $25 isn't in here, but he brought that to my attention.
So that looks to me like Anastasia ought to buy a grinder next, huh?
Well, no, they weren't going to charge for the grinding, but their price was still a little higher. I calculated with Mr. Simcoe, and they're still higher than A&M.
Okay. Do we have a motion on Mr. Lieberman's? Okay. Mr. Nastri, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Yes, Mitchell.
I guess, Ed, I'm still a little, I've read this 3 times, and I'm having a hard time following what happened here. I guess let's go right to the bottom line. A&M Wood is now going to remove the grinding residue, $25 a ton?
That's right, because they have another grinder on their site which grinds it into mulch.
I guess I'm having a hard time looking. Their original bid was $60 a ton.
That's for hauling anything we can't grind, which is very little.
That's bulky material.
That's stuff they're going to haul away.
No, they'll be a lot less than, because you see it, pallets is in there too.
Yeah.
And they will grind the pallets right on our site. Don't mind. A lot of companies will not grind the pallets. So, and the only thing that may get hauled away is the stumps that are too big to go into their grinder. And they said they haven't had a problem with stumps. So, we don't send too much wood away now, but we run out of space for what's left of chips.
All right. So, yeah, I'm sorry I'm not following yet. You're saying the hauling and disposal would still be the same price. It's if they do it on site, it's $25?
No.
Just the opposite?
Yeah, no. Well, I'm not sure. What do you mean?
Well,
what do you not get?
Where's the $25 per ton?
It's not in here.
It's not in here.
But what is it compared to that is in here?
The hauling away, like pallets.
Like go to city carting. Wait to the right. $100, $103, $106, $109.
Right, that's per haul.
Right.
He's saying it's $25 per ton.
Where does it say per haul?
Well, in city carting.
City carting.
City carting, the very first one.
Hauling's $100 a haul. You're saying $25 a ton.
Well, yeah, but their grinding price per day is half again as much as A&M. So there's.
They all make it up one way or another.
Yeah. Well, we benefit 2 ways. We cannot get rid of the result of the grinding.
Okay.
And we need to take some of it out of the transfer stations there because it's a mess. We used to bring it to Fredville Park, but we can't put it there anymore because we're encroaching on property lines and so forth. So we benefit by not having the mulch. Nobody's because it's not ground properly. But we get
rid of some, but
we get rid of some, not enough. Some people take it, but you can't put it next to your foundation or anything like that.
So let me try again. Is the $60 and $55 been reduced to $25 to make it the same as what it been?
The pallets will be ground, and that material will be taken away for $25.
The $55 number isn't going to exist.
That's right.
Okay.
And
that will drop into the $25 number.
And the wood
is large logs and chunks and clunks, potato wood, that people don't. It's either too big.
Yeah.
You know that big pile that's way down back?
I know.
Well, that's the whole.
We don't have more than a few of that because the grinders do most of them. They have to be huge old stumps.
Otherwise, we'll have Anastasia take it away.
That's right. They'll do it for
They'll
nothing.
do a favor.
So, and the last question is, it's a dual question. What do you think this is going to cost us per year, and what do we cost us this year? And what's in the budget this year, and what do you think it's going to cost?
You have the budget in front of you.
I know, but more or
I
less.
don't have that figure. I would think it's going to cost us less. Number one, because the price per day is less than what we're paying now.
Okay. It's going to be a little bit less.
Okay.
But
not much, but we're not. It's not going to be any significant increase. Any.
All right.
Well, use. Here's who you're using right now. So you can kind of do the math. Okay, is there any more discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous, thank you. Item number 5, Ed. Consider and act on bids for the inspection and maintenance of heating units in town buildings. We had a bunch of buildings listed here.
Yes.
We have regular to hourly and overtime and a holiday time. And they've calculated it all out. The existing contract with MCOR for subject work allows for 3-year extensions. If approved, this would be the first such extension. The attached proposal represents a 5% increase over this year and is broken down as follows. All right, now why do you want to stick with MCOR?
What
kind of job have they done?
They've done an excellent job. We have very little problems with the heating system, the furnaces, and the young man that usually works on them lives in town. He knows he used to do them on his own. Unfortunately, he went with MCOR. Now we pay a little bit more than he charged, but he knows the systems inside out.
Okay.
And they have not increased the emergency service prices. They've held those constant.
And this is budgeted?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Each building has a charge.
Yep, it's all. Do we have a motion? So moved. Do we have a second? Thank you. Is there discussion on this one? It's a used company, and they seem to be okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Same. All right, unanimous. Thank you. Okay, number 6. Your legs are getting tired.
No, I'm fine.
To consider and act on containerized refuse from building. All right, request for bids, advertised newspaper, on internet. Only one response was received. Again, from a current contractor. Copy of prices. Requested the tele-rubbish removal be awarded the contract for containerized pickup and disposal at town transfer station of town buildings. Previous or not too bad? Or?
Yes, it's a good size. The first year is a big difference. If you remember, 4 years ago we sat here and we had bids, and they stood up and they said they would match the low bidder, and I told them they weren't going to make any money, and they told me I was right. The first year they bid too low. The first year represents I think I'm down here someplace. No, I didn't. The first year is a big increase because their prices for the previous 4 years were extremely low, and they've been hit by charges. But then the second, third, and fourth year from the first year increases.
Yeah. It's hard to kind of predict that out in this business.
I know it is, but at least they know. That's why it went 4 years. They do have they have a contract for.
Okay. Do we have a motion on containerized refuse removal?
So made.
All right. Do we have a second? Okay. There will be discussion now.
I'm not sure we should accept this because if I'm reading this one correctly, these costs aren't just going up 5%, 10%, they're going up 500%.
No, only the first year.
Yeah, but the first year is, if I'm reading this correctly, we're paying $146 a month currently for the schools for pickup, which is going to go from $146 to $663 a month.
Yeah. They produce a lot.
I know gas prices have gone up.
It's the only bid we got, and the contract runs out next year.
I think we got to go rebid it. I mean, I just don't think we can take one bid.
But nobody bids on it. That's the problem. I went on the internet. We sent it to other people.
You know approximately how many of these you sent out? Or
At
contacted by? I know Stacia said that you were contacted by several.
Yes, we were called by several people, and none of them bid. I would say at least 6 or 7 people expressed interest.
And just so you know, they are, like they had a bid for something which was way out of whack, but it's not uncommon. We're only getting ones and twos on a bunch of these bids, which years ago you'd have of them, and now we're not getting the. I don't know why we're not missing. We just aren't.
I guess in looking at it, I guess there's a couple other questions, and there's nobody here representing the company. I guess I don't understand why a 10 cubic yard container at High Plains cost us $365 a month, and a 6-yard container was $663 a month. It just doesn't sound right. I think it was done wrong. I mean, it's got to be questioned.
Well, don't forget, the schools get picked up 3 times a week. The other buildings once.
Helps explain it.
That's part of it.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That makes a big difference. That
That's
makes a
right.
big difference,
Yeah.
right
I'm
there.
sorry.
All right, that helps. But remember, it's apples to apples from last year, though, where it's still quite a bit different last year.
Yes.
And I don't know, Jim. We don't, your Board of Finance doesn't accept anything going up 5%, never mind 4 times the amount.
You're saying my Board of Finance is tough.
I'm saying they're very tough.
Thank you.
At times.
I knew you'd catch on after you put your foot in it.
But I mean, if the Board of Finance was looking at, I don't think they'd accept that. I mean, Ed, have you tripled your budget for next year?
There's an increase. I don't remember much, but I think we spent money in the overall transfer station budget to cover this.
Well,
Mitchell, your question is strictly to schools.
No, it's not. No, it's not strictly the schools. I'm looking at this year's costs versus what they are quoting. But I think the most extreme case is the schools that are right now cost $146 a month for pickup, which are going to go to $663 a month. I mean, even a town from 75 to 110.
Yes.
I mean, that's not 4 times the amount, but it's still a very significant
big
I didn't think
increase.
that was bad at all, Mitch, to tell you the truth. Those, I compared, I'm looking at them here.
I mean, Jim, I could
I see where
probably
you
live
Money.
Well,
no, this is what the